say you want a good man, and then you cheat on him. You say you want a good man, you leave him at the altar.
I thought that they messed up, and I was in a real bad shape when they didn't. I was real sad and stuff. But it's a really expensive proposition to do, you know, a TV show. It's almost like $1 billion or something. They take out a huge loan. Money is important. They don't care about you. You know, nobody cares about it. They only care about you as much as you can make them money.
Remember Reggie Hayes from Girlfriends? The reason why he disappeared will leave you speechless.
And then all that kind of, it was just like, it was really, you know, just like framing and stuff, just like everything. Beautiful home, everything. It's like, obviously I can't afford to finish it. So I moved out and went to an apartment, sold what it was. It was just like everything kind of like.
Reggie's issue was not just about losing work. It was about a system designed to exploit black actors, then leave them to fight battles nobody talks about.
I got real depressed for years, and I went up to like 300 pounds. I just lost 60 pounds.
Here's what really happened to Reggie Hayes. Chicago's South Side in the 1970s wasn't the place where dreams came true. It was the place where you learned to survive or got swallowed whole. Reggie Hayes was born there in 1969, the youngest of 4 children in a house that would soon be marked by tragedy that would define everything that came after.
Yeah, I was born and raised in and around Chicago back in '69. I'm getting up there now. But I moved here to Los Angeles in 1995. So
his mother died when he was 4 years old. Cancer took her slowly, painfully, leaving a little boy who barely understood what death meant, watching his family fracture apart. His father tried to hold things together, but 10 years later, when Reggie was 14, his father died too. Orphaned as a teenager, no parents to guide him through high school, no safety net to catch him when he fell, no family structure to tell him he mattered. They sent him to St. John's Northwestern Military Academy in Wisconsin, a boarding school for boys who needed discipline and structure. Some kids got sent there because their parents wanted them to excel. Others got sent there because they were borderline cases. Kids teetering on the edge of making all the wrong choices. Kids the system wanted to save before it was too late.
Well, it's difficult. I tell you, I was young when we moved to the suburbs when I was like 11. So I missed a lot of I left before people were, trying to enlist in gangs and stuff like that. I ended up in a military school in Wisconsin right across the border, but there were kids in gangs that...
Military school was rough in ways that had nothing to do with the drills and the discipline. There were gang members there, tough kids from Chicago who'd been placed there by families desperate to keep them alive. The daily structure was brutal, but Reggie found something there that would save his life later. He learned how to perform, how to make people laugh, how to use humor as armor against everything that hurt. Eddie Murphy became his idol, not just because Murphy was funny, but because he brought joy. Reggie would watch Saturday Night Live and see Murphy transform pain into laughter, see him command a stage with confidence that seemed impossible for a black man in America. That's what Reggie wanted. Not fame, not money, just the ability to make people feel better for a little while.
I'd always wanted to be on sitcom TV ever since I was a little kid because it would cheer me up. I'd watch all those shows. And I just knew that I wanted to be a part of it. And then, the clowning and...
After military school, he went to Illinois State University and studied theater. He joined the Illinois Shakespeare Festival, spent years learning classical technique, understanding how to inhabit characters completely. But Shakespeare wasn't paying bills. He moved back to Chicago and got a job at a bank, wiring money for people, wearing a shirt and tie, taking the train downtown like a normal person with a normal life. At night, he did theater, community productions, improv shows, any stage that would have him. He was good enough that a play called Hellcab cast him in multiple roles. Quick change work, where he'd play different Chicago cab drivers night after night. The play ran for 2 years in Chicago, became a local phenomenon, and when the producers decided to try their luck in Los Angeles, they asked Reggie to come with them. His boss at the bank promised she'd rehire him when he came back. Everyone assumed he'd come back. Los Angeles chewed up actors from Chicago and spit them out broke and defeated. But Reggie got on that plane anyway, November 1995, leaving Chicago winter for California sunshine, carrying everything he owned and a promise from a woman he'd probably never see again. Los Angeles hit different when you had no money and no connections. Reggie stayed with the Hellcab cast, performing the play at night while agents came to watch this ensemble show where actors transformed into different characters every scene. The agents liked what they saw. A black actor who could do comedy and drama, who understood timing, who looked like a leading man but could disappear into any role. 4 months after arriving in Los Angeles, Reggie booked his first television pilot. Nick Freno, licensed teacher, on the WB. He thought he'd made it. First audition in Hollywood, first booking, everything falling into place like the universe was confirming he'd made the right choice leaving Chicago. They fired him after the pilot, replaced him with another actor. No explanation, no apology. Just, thanks for coming in. We're going a different direction.
Oh, dude, I was remodeling the house, and then all that kind of, it was just like, it was really, just like framing and stuff, just like everything. Beautiful home, everything. So obviously I can't afford to finish it. So I moved out and went to an apartment, sold what it was. It was just like everything kind of like.
The punch to the gut of realizing talent didn't matter as much as he thought it did. That other factors, invisible factors he couldn't control, determined who got to stay and who got sent home. The next year, he booked another show, Getting Personal with Vivica Fox, 13 episodes. Enough money to get his own apartment, enough work to feel like maybe he could actually survive in this industry. Then that show got canceled too. Back to auditioning. Back to wondering if he'd ever get a role that lasted.
And I didn't have money for the next month's rent. And they call and you go in and it's a few auditions. First you read for the writers, Mara, and whoever her crew was back at that time.
In 1999, broke and desperate, owing rent he didn't have and carrying credit card debt that kept him awake at night, Reggie got a call for an audition. A new show on UPN called Girlfriends. The role was William Dent, a corporate attorney who was best friends with 4 black women navigating life and love in Los Angeles. The male friend in a female ensemble. Not the lead, not the star, but a regular role on a network show that might actually last. He auditioned 4 times. First for the writers, then for the studio executives at Paramount, then for the network buyers at UPN, and finally a callback that would determine everything. The first audition went great. The second one, he fumbled. The third audition, he nailed completely. The fourth audition, the final one, he bombed so badly, he walked to his car cursing himself, kicking trash cans in parking lots, walking the streets at night like a man who'd just watched his last chance evaporate. He didn't sleep that night. He knew he'd blown it. He wouldn't have hired himself either. The next morning, his agent called. He got the part. William Dent was his.
When you hear those words, you got it.
A 180-degree turn and mood. Just out of control, celebration, joy and happiness, and relief.
The relief wasn't just about getting work. It was vindication. An agent in Chicago had told him years before that he wasn't good enough for Los Angeles. Wasn't good looking enough, wasn't talented enough. Should go have fun and come right back home where he belonged. Now, he had a series regular role on a network television show. Now, he could prove that agent wrong. Now, he could prove everyone wrong. Girlfriends premiered on September 11th, 2000, and immediately connected with Black audiences in ways UPN hadn't anticipated. The show wasn't trying to be Sex and the City, though people made that comparison constantly. It was its own thing. 4 Black women dealing with careers and relationships and friendships with honesty that television rarely allowed. William Dent became the friend every woman wanted. The corporate attorney who genuinely loved women's company without ulterior motives. The straight man who got the jokes, who provided the male perspective without mansplaining, who was sexy and nerdy at the same time. Reggie played William as himself, just being honest and real instead of trying to manufacture a performance.
Now I say it for other reasons, but I was like, yeah, I'd probably still say I don't care a whole lot. Probably, you know.
The show exploded. 8 seasons, 172 episodes. Tracee Ellis Ross became a star. Golden Brooks, Persia White, and Jill Marie Jones all became household names in Black households across America. The show was appointment television, the kind people organized their Mondays around. But something strange happened during those 8 years. While the women got magazine covers and endorsement deals and red carpet attention, William stayed in the background. Reggie would show up to awards shows and premieres, standing at the end of the line while photographers shouted for Tracee to move closer, for Golden to turn around, for Persia to smile bigger. He'd stand there in his suit, smiling, being professional, wondering why he was even there. There were conversations, winks, suggestions that William might get his own spin-off show. Executives who'd pull him aside at parties and talk about how much audiences loved his character, how they were considering giving him his own series. It felt like a bird about to take flight. All that potential energy building. Executives circling the idea, writers developing concepts.
Was it accurate when we heard that William was supposed to get his own spinoff?
Yeah, I thought it was accurate. No one had said anything because I can't say anything, but they wink at you a lot, you know, especially in the beginning.
Then nothing happened. The bird never took off. The spin-off never materialized. The push never came. While Tracee transitioned to movie roles and bigger television opportunities, while the other cast members got offers for other shows, Reggie kept showing up to girlfriends wondering why nobody seemed to see what audiences saw. He won 3 NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. 3 times. The validation felt good, but it didn't translate into the opportunities he watched his white peers receive. Friends was ending around the same time Girlfriends was running, and those actors had movie deals lined up, production companies forming, sitcoms being developed specifically for them. Matt LeBlanc, Jennifer Aniston, even the supporting actors from Friends got more attention than the lead actors from Girlfriends. UPN was considered the least important network. Girlfriends was considered a Black show, which meant mainstream media barely acknowledged its existence. And Reggie was the male supporting character on that Black show, on that unimportant network. He was, by his own assessment, the least important person on the least important show, on the least important network in television.
You know, I need a white woman because I've just about had it with you black guys.
But he was working. He had a steady paycheck. He could afford to live. For 8 years, he showed up and did the work and collected the money and told himself that this was enough. That being part of something audiences loved was enough. That maybe the spin-off would still happen. That maybe opportunities would come after Girlfriends ended. He had no idea how bad it was about to get. In 2007, the Writers Guild of America went on strike. Every show in Hollywood shut down. Production stopped. Scripts stopped being written. The entire industry froze, while writers fought for better compensation in the digital age. For most shows, this was an inconvenience. For Girlfriends, which was already on shaky ground in its 8th season, It became a death sentence. The show never came back from the strike. UPN had merged with the WB to become the CW, and the new network wasn't interested in keeping an aging sitcom that primarily appealed to Black audiences. They pulled the plug during the Christmas season. No final episodes. No wrap-up for the fans. No goodbye tour. The writers' strike gave them the perfect excuse to kill it quietly and move on. Reggie found out his show was canceled while he was trying to figure out what to do with himself during the strike. One day he was working. The next day the show was gone. No warning, no ceremony. They just pulled the needle off the record and pretended girlfriends had never existed.
Man, to tell you the truth, I don't even know. I think it was Christmas time. But there was a strike going on, the writer's strike. So they shut down the whole town. And I guess it's real expensive to shut down a big show like that and then start it back up. And I guess they didn't want to...
For 8 years, Girlfriends had been a third of his life. He'd grown up on that show, learned who he was as a man on that show, built his entire identity around being William Dent. The validation from fans, the awards, the recognition, all of it had made him feel valuable in ways he'd never felt before losing his parents. And now, it was just gone. He thought the phone would ring. He thought casting directors who'd watched him for 8 years would call with new opportunities. He thought being part of a successful show for that long would open doors. He was wrong about all of it. Hollywood didn't care that he'd won 3 NAACP Image Awards.
Do I miss working on Girlfriends? Yes, very much so. I'm broke as hell. I'm very lonely.
Hollywood didn't care that audiences loved William Dent. Hollywood didn't care that he could act and do comedy and carry emotional scenes. Hollywood saw a Black supporting actor from a canceled UPN show and moved on to the next thing without looking back. The audition started. Lawyers, judges, doctors, the same generic roles that every Black actor in Hollywood was fighting for. He'd walk into casting rooms and see 50 other men who looked like him, all desperate for the same small part that would pay rent for a month. Sometimes casting directors would recognize him and get excited. More often, they'd just see another face in a long line of faces. Meanwhile, the money from Girlfriends was running out. He'd made decent money during the show's run, but not the kind of money that sets you up for life. He'd bought a house in the hills, started remodeling it, invested in making it beautiful. When the work stopped coming and the bills kept arriving, he couldn't afford to finish the renovations. He had to sell the house at a loss and move into an apartment. The depression hit like a tsunami. When you're working, when you're on set every day, when people know your name and want your picture, you can ignore the darkness. But when all of that stops, when nobody's calling, when your agent stops returning emails, when you're sitting in an apartment you can barely afford with no work lined up, the darkness becomes everything. He gained weight. A lot of weight. He'd wake up, eat in bed, watch television in bed, go back to sleep in bed. The cycle repeated day after day, week after week, month after month.
I got real depressed for years. And I went up to like 300 pounds. I just lost 60 pounds.
He had sisters who cared about him, but he'd spent so much of his adult life being a loner, being self-sufficient, that he didn't know how to ask for help. The money ran out completely. The savings disappeared. The credit cards maxed out. Reggie had to figure out how to survive, and surviving meant taking jobs that William Dent never would have needed. He tried being a bouncer at nightclubs. 6'2", he looked the part. But everyone who came to those clubs recognized him from Girlfriends. They wanted pictures. They wanted to chat. They wanted William, not a bouncer. And Reggie, who described himself as a mouse, who admitted he was a pushover, couldn't actually enforce rules on drunk people who needed to be removed. He tried being a furniture mover, physical labor, loading trucks, carrying couches upstairs. He was in his 40s. His body wasn't built for that kind of work anymore, and his back gave out after a couple days. Another job he couldn't do. Another reminder that the only thing he knew how to do was act, and nobody was hiring him to act.
You never know it's going to work out. It was really scary, you know. And you're used to being an actor, you know, you're used to doing your day jobs and stuff like that, and not really having that much money.
He eventually moved into his sister's garage. 6 years living in a garage. The actor who'd won 3 NAACP Image Awards, who'd made millions of people laugh for 8 seasons, who'd been on magazine covers and red carpets, was sleeping in a garage because he couldn't afford his own place. People who'd been friendly when he was on television suddenly had nothing to say to him. A neighbor who used to shake his hand every day made a nasty comment when Reggie moved out of the house he couldn't afford anymore. The same people who wanted pictures at clubs were the first ones to put him down when they heard he was struggling. That's how Los Angeles worked. They loved you when you were making them money or making them feel important. The second you stopped being useful, they wanted you gone. The depression got worse. Days blended into weeks, blended into months. He'd audition occasionally, get close to booking roles, then watch them go to someone else. The rejection piled up. The weight kept increasing. His health started deteriorating in ways he didn't understand yet.
Surprised to know about me. I guess I can be kind of a sad person, I think. Even before the show, you know.
In 2015, he started having chest pains and trouble breathing. He ignored it at first. Actors don't have health insurance when they're not working, and he couldn't afford to see doctors. But the pain got worse. He went to the emergency room, and they did an EKG. The results weren't good. His heart wasn't functioning properly. They told him to come back for more tests. He didn't go back. He couldn't afford it. He told himself he was fine, that the symptoms would go away, that if he just lost weight and started walking more, his heart would fix itself. This is what happens when you're famous enough that people recognize you, but not successful enough to afford proper health care. By 2016, the symptoms were impossible to ignore. More chest pains, more breathing problems. He went back to the hospital, and they diagnosed him with congestive heart failure. His heart was weak. The muscle wasn't pumping blood efficiently. He needed medication, needed to lose weight, needed to change everything about his lifestyle, or this condition would kill him. He was 47 years old, and his heart was failing. The same heart that had carried him through losing both parents, through 8 seasons of Girlfriends, through years of rejection and depression, and fighting to survive in an industry that had forgotten he existed. Now that heart was giving up too. September 2020. Netflix added Girlfriends to its streaming library. Suddenly, 20 years after the show premiered, a whole new generation discovered William Dent. Social media exploded with people watching the show for the first time, people rewatching it for nostalgia, people creating memes and clips and appreciation posts. The attention came back. People started following Reggie on Instagram, sending him messages, telling him how much they loved the show. It felt like being remembered after years of being forgotten. It felt like vindication that the work he'd done actually mattered. But the attention also brought criticism. Someone posted old photos of Reggie from Girlfriends next to recent photos where he'd gained weight. The comparison went viral. People who'd never met him, who knew nothing about his struggles, started leaving cruel comments. Fact jokes. Has-been jokes. Where are they now jokes that weren't actually jokes but thinly veiled mockery.
I'm on Twitter, but I don't go there that much because they make fun of me on Twitter, so I stay away from Twitter.
One person sent him a photo with the word "done" stamped across his face. Another person wrote asking him how it felt to be done, to be finished, to be irrelevant. The comments piled up for 2 days straight. People who claimed to love girlfriends, now using social media to tear him down for gaining weight. He started blocking people. He wrote back to some of the cruelest commenters, calling them ugly people, asking them why they had time to send hate to someone they didn't even know. Some of them seemed surprised he'd responded, backed down, said they were just joking. Others doubled down on the cruelty. The same month Netflix added girlfriends, Reggie ended up back in the hospital. The chest pains had returned. The breathing problems were worse. Los Angeles was on fire. Literal wildfires filling the sky with orange smoke, and he couldn't breathe in the toxic air. They admitted him for more tests, more medications, more warnings that his heart condition was serious. This time, he listened.
Tries to know about me. I guess I can be kind of a sad person, I think. Even before the show, you know.
The weight started coming off. 60 pounds in the first year. He posted updates on Instagram documenting his progress, showing the world that he was still fighting. The same people who'd mocked him started cheering him on. Some of the cruelest commenters deleted their previous posts and started leaving supportive messages instead. By 2024, he'd lost over 80 pounds total. Reggie Hayes is 55 years old now. He still auditions for roles. He still takes whatever work comes his way. He appeared on Black Lightning. He showed up on Blackish with Tracy Ellis Ross. Small roles, guest appearances. Nothing that pays the bills for more than a month or two. He's been writing scripts with friends, developing ideas, trying to create opportunities for himself since Hollywood won't create them for him. But he doesn't know what to do with the treatments once they're written. He doesn't know who to call without feeling like he's bothering people who have their own careers to worry about. The Instagram followers keep growing. The number ticks up slowly. People discovering William Dent for the first time. People remembering how much they loved girlfriends. Reggie watches that number grow and hopes it translates into something real. Hopes someone sees it and decides he's worth hiring again. Hopes the visibility turns into actual work. He lives modestly now. Found some roommates in the valley. Keeps his expenses low. Still tracking calories. Still walking every day. Still managing his heart condition with medication and lifestyle changes. Still fighting to survive in an industry that forgot about him the moment girlfriends ended.
I'm not gonna lie, it's scary. You don't know. I mean, in the beginning I worked all the time, you know. And now it's weird that like after you become famous, you stop working. It's really weird, but I audition a lot. You know, I come close on some things. And they just go with another guy.
The real reason Reggie Hayes disappeared from Hollywood wasn't because he wasn't talented. It wasn't because audiences didn't love him. It wasn't because he couldn't act or wasn't funny or didn't deserve opportunities. He disappeared because Hollywood has a system for handling black actors who don't bring immediate profit. Reggie spent years thinking he'd done something wrong. That if he'd been more talented, more marketable, more something, the doors would have opened. But the truth was simpler and uglier. The system worked exactly as designed. He was never supposed to have a career after girlfriends. He was supposed to disappear quietly, replaced by the next black actor who'd eventually face the same fate. The heart problems, the depression, the weight gain, the financial collapse, the years living in his sister's garage. None of it was accidental. All of it was the predictable outcome of an industry that extracts value from black talent and discards them the moment that value disappears. But Reggie is still here, still fighting, still auditioning, still losing weight and managing his heart condition, and showing up every day to prove he deserves to exist in an industry that wishes he'd just go away. He's 55 years old, and he's not giving up. He can't give up. Because acting is the only thing he knows how to do, the only thing he's ever wanted to do, the only thing that made him feel valuable after losing his parents and spending his childhood learning to survive. William Dent made millions of people laugh for 8 years. Reggie Hayes is trying to survive for the rest of his life. That's the difference Hollywood doesn't want you to understand. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye!